Leeds United made the most of their second chance in the European Cup against Stuttgart, the team they say has more foreign reserves than the Bank of England. Leeds won 2-1 in Barcelona in front of a tiny crowd. Their hero was Carl Shutt. He scored the winner less than a minute after coming on as a substitute, and tomorrow's his birthday.
Hello and good evening to officially, I think it's episode 185, but unofficially because of all the emergency and 0.001 episodes, it's actually our 200th episode of Talking Shutt, believe it or not. As a consequence, our beloved leader Gary went out, pulled out all the stops to put together the OG lineup, and then has ditched us for work. So there's only three of us, but I'm delighted to be joined by the two Bens, and it's the return of now old Ben back to his original name.
Yeah, I'm old now.
And old, definitely old now. And the glorious return, his second stint with the club, young Ben.
What a time to be alive.
You feel like Fab Delph or David Batty or someone.
I just feel like I've got a lot to bring back to this podcast. You've gone out and you've made a marquee signing.
Yeah. But so it's like David Batty, and it's like bringing David back.
It's like 200 episodes, and what better way to celebrate than bring back the fan favourite sort of
thing. He started bold already. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, delighted you could join us. We'll be seeing more of you. But unfortunately, Gary can't make it. So, it's us three. Going to take you through the delights, the ups and downs, as we all have. We'll start with a down. Thursday night, Villa game. Right, okay, that's enough of that.
I can't really remember much of it. I think it's just like blocked out of my memory.
Well, I mean, anyone who follows me on Twitter made a big deal of this. I was away for the weekend. I was on a stag do in Prague. We flew out on Friday. So, Thursday was a nice little kind of start to the whole big weekend. Thursday night under the lights. Was looking forward to it. It just meant I went on a stag do incredibly pissed off and fucked off on Friday. And then, decided to fly back on Sunday, so missed the Norwich game and missed this absolute kind of stone cold classic. So I've messed that up royally for my kind of enjoyment of watching Leeds United. But we do need to talk about Villa because as dire as it was, we kind of you have to have those downs as a football fan to really appreciate the ups, I suppose. But it's got to be one of the, I think, worst performances we've had for a long, long time at Ellen Road.
Do you think it was a bit sort of rabbits in the headlights kind of thing?
Yeah. I think what it is there's been a massive change, and that massive change is taken into Ellen Road for the first time. There's a lot of expectation around Jesse Marsch, around those players. And I do think that there was an eagerness to impress, an eagerness to hit the ground running, create an atmosphere and get a result and build on that Leicester performance, which were encouraging. But it went wrong pretty quickly, and it kind of showed. And like you said, very much rabbit in headlights. They ran out of ideas, and the atmosphere kind of took a turn. I wouldn't call it toxic, but it was very flat.
Yeah.
And those players will have learned a lot from that. I've never seen Ellen Road empty so quick. I've never heard it so quiet, and I've not heard boos in a very, very long time. And it hurt. I think given the circumstances that we found ourselves in, it really, really did hurt. And it hurt a lot of fans, clearly. But, and I know we'll go on to Norwich, I think that was a massive catalyst. And it gave Jesse Marsch one massive team talk to say, this is what they think of you now. Go show them you better.
Yeah. From memory, I think we started quite reasonably well. Like
Comfortable.
We were okay. We were sort of, and I guess the main thing was, and I guess we've touched on it a few times before in last sort of few weeks, that something then kind of happens and the confidence goes.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought the referee was absolutely appalling.
Yeah.
But it was like there was one bit. I think we were fouled. I'd say it was a foul. And then the Leeds player chased after the Villa player, won the ball off him, and then did exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
And the referee pulled for a foul. And like we said, sort of in the last few weeks, when you're down there and nothing's going for you, and you start getting them things against you, and you're just thinking, here we go again, because give us a break, like give us something to, and you just feel like everything's against you. And I think that's kind of where it started going. And then the Coutinho goal, I mean, the tracking from the defenders, I think he's on edge of the area. And again, a bit of luck that Struijk puts his sort of leg out and it kind of just loops over Melier, who's sort of gone to his right. And it's just sort of flicked in. And once you've gone through that, and with the referee how the referee was, it's just like backs against the wall and you can't see a way out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It was especially, yeah. I mean, it was like playing with one arm tied behind your back with that refereeing performance. I mean, it was Rafinha, I think, in the first half. He was literally taken out in the air. I turned to Neil and said, "That's a foul in Rafinha." It was like he was in the air and he was like clearly just taken out, and he just gave nothing, absolutely nothing. They break on us. It was a clean challenge, and he gives them a free kick. It was unreal. And like you say, at that point, you just, as a fan, you're just thinking, what's the point? Literally, what's the point if everything goes against you and you can't even have, it looked like the referee was on the tech. It was incredible. But we don't help ourselves, and it's been a long, long time since I saw a Leeds United team give up, and they give up on Thursday.
Yeah.
The heads at 2-0, heads went down, and there was no way. 2-0 down. We're used to being 2-0 down in the last few years, and thinking, well, we'll win this 3-2, or we'll get back into this.
Yeah,
and it never looked like that at all. At all.
Yeah, under Bielsa, you've got that. Well, we're going to be playing this way. If we keep doing that, then we'll get something.
Yeah,
and maybe now it's a bit different because Bielsa isn't there. It's like once you're in that position, and maybe it's something that has to come within time under Jesse Marsch, that in these situations, this is what you do because everything's kind of changed now. But I'm surprised they didn't kind of resort back to Bielsa a bit, or maybe you can only do that as a whole.
Yeah, but, I mean, like I say, it's the same group of players, and it's not that long ago since we were playing that way, so they don't forget it. Obviously, we were. I'm just trying to look at what time. Yeah, Cash scored at 65 minutes. So yeah, I mean, even that beginning of that second half, we came out and we looked a bit better, and we were probably the team with the most amount of possession at that point. But we never looked like creating a chance. You know what I mean? No. Not never mind scoring. We never looked like even creating a chance. We were so narrow. And it's like you've got, at one stage we've had all these wingers on the pitch, all just playing down, and it's just so easy to defend against as well because they just had to defend narrow and just pack bodies in there, and there were it was pitiful. And then, like I say, they go up the other end, score just a diabolical defending for the second goal, and like I say, they gave up, but. You kind of have to, like you say, looking back on it, I go away and then land in the UK, and we're back having done what we've done at Ellen Road on Sunday, and you think, well, clearly something has changed, and it is kind of needed to happen in a certain way. But yeah, as a fan, I was fuming. I was upset. I was just sad that everything just seemed to have crumbled so badly we just regressed so badly in such a short space of time.
I guess it was one of them things that you're thinking, have we the whole situation that it's in now? Are we thinking we shouldn't have got rid of Bielsa? And I guess that's the main sort of coming out of that.
Well, I mean,
you start thinking that. I mean, after Leicester, you're thinking, okay, we've done the possibly the right thing here. And then you go into Villa and you're thinking, like, it's a fresh start and we're going to be a bit different. And then you get pretty much the same outcome as we've had in the last sort of few weeks under Bielsa. And you start thinking, well, maybe we shouldn't have done it. But
well, exactly. That second half against Villa, I mean, I talked to the people around me in the cot more in that second half than I have for the last 3 seasons, because usually we were just so intent. But it was one of those. It was like back to the bad old days where everyone's kind of you're looking around the people around you and chatting, and we even said, it was probably because Leicester was so poor. And I did say it last week on the show. I was like, we have lost the game still against Leicester, and they had nothing. Like I thought they looked poor.
Yeah.
We looked, and there wasn't those encouraging signs from it. But also they were on a bad run of form. They didn't really offer much, and we still lost the game. And then you kind of you then playing a team who've come off 2 good wins, and then do that against you, and you're thinking, yeah, we've really kind of shit ourselves here, and it's looking bad. But it just made Sunday. I mean, Sunday was always must win, but it made it even more. And obviously, they've said in the aftermath of what's happened on Sunday, and there's been talks, there's been, what is it, a leadership forum or something, talking about people's roles, and I think Rodrigo was part of that. I mean, Rodrigo first, he came off at half time, didn't he? I mean, against Aston Villa, one of the worst Leeds United performances I think I've seen from a player. He was diabolical. He kept his shirt, and kind of by all accounts, again, I wasn't there on Sunday, but by all accounts was one of our better players on Sunday. So things have happened, things have needed to happen, and then as a consequence, what happened Sunday did. So obviously you two were at the game. How did you feel going into it? Obviously after
just on Rodrigo, I mean, I don't know about you, Ben, but I'd say that's probably the best performance we've seen from Rodrigo.
Apart from Burnley, I think it was.
Yeah, back end of last year.
But do you know what it was? I feel like he's always shown quality. He's always shown that he's got that something, but he's never really stamped his authority on a game. He's never really stood up and been counted for. And I think we don't know what this leadership forum is. We don't know the conversations that goes on in-house, but I feel like he's been grabbed by the shoulder and said, look, you've cost 30 million quid. You're a senior member of this squad. Yeah. Players look up to you. You've got young players who look up to you to find something, to add that little bit of magic to this squad. Just go out and put in a performance, put in a shift. You know what? It don't have to be performance. You don't have to ping a pass 30 yards, score a goal, score a brace, whatever. He's got to just show a little bit of fight. And when I saw him like a man possessed,
quite early on, wanted
fly through Brandon Williams, I thought.
And there was one bit I pointed out to one of my mates that I think he tracked back pretty much right to our sort of goal area.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's a bit of a different Rodrigo because he's not done that all season.
If you're going to drive at players, make these, risky passes, that's fine. Yeah. You lose ball, that's fine. No problem. But when you're fucking about with ball in middle of centre circle and you're losing out and you're not tracking back and you're losing your man and all the easy basic stuff and you've got your hands on your hips and you don't look like you can be arsed, that's the problem that everyone had against Villa. Credit to him because he's taken it and he's the complete polar opposite that we saw against Norwich. And that was, like you say, probably his best performance. And he's set himself a standard now where he has to exceed and he has to keep getting better and better and, really be part of that squad and show why we spent the money on him. I'm not, like I say, I'm not expecting goals. I'm not expecting assists, but I'm expecting him to be a leader. I'm expecting for him to come out after games and give those interviews and stand up and just be counted and just show that fight that he showed. And like I said, going back...
In a way, lead by example on that because everyone else needs to follow that too now.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I've had this absolute, shit show of a game against Villa, but this is what I've done afterwards. This is the minimum that we expect from everyone else. And I think everyone knows that if a Leeds United team gets beat well, but we've put in performance and we've left everything we've got on that football pitch, there won't be any complaints.
I keep referring back to it, but we got hammered by Arsenal at Ellen Road at Christmas time. The end of that game was some of the best atmosphere at Ellen Road has been all season, because we had everything against us. We had a bench full of kids. We had no players. We were ravaged by injury. Everyone else, all the rest of the league, were calling off games with like one case of COVID and all that. But we fronted up and we did it, and we got hammered, but we tried our best. We really did. And it's just the bare minimum. It's not much to ask, is it? It's like, go out there. You don't have to win the game, but just if everyone tries, then that's all Leeds fans will want.
Yeah, and it goes back to sort of, you talk about stuff like that, and if you talk about the last 15 years and who your sort of favourite players are, and you got people like Andy Hughes, who were never the best footballer, but he always gave his all, and players like that.
Everything. Yeah, gave everything.
And that's what the fans want to see, don't
they? Yeah, 100%. So if you've got a player like Rodrigo who can be head and shoulders above it when he's on the ball, like on his game, then having an absolute stinker, but then like losing the plot in terms of putting the effort in, then that's when you start going, we don't need him.
Yeah.
I hate the term luxury player, but yeah, a player like that is a luxury player. It's, just to have him on just because he might do something that wins us the game, rather than have someone who will literally put their all into everything. But it sounds like he was much improved on Sunday. But let's, is that Villa put to bed? Is that, I can't imagine us.
I don't think I've got much else to say about it.
No, there isn't much to say.
One thing I'd like to address from Villa is that I took a lot from Marsch's post-match, and he brought the self-awareness that he's already shown into that, and he made a comment about the crowd. Now, it's a dangerous comment to make on a fan base like ours, who are very, very big on the club. We've obviously followed all very loyal supporters, and we've followed Bielsa through so many years, who praised us so much through good and bad. For him to make that comment were bold, and I think that it shows a lot of self-awareness, and I think it shows that he knows what he needs to do, and he knows that it's important that he gets a tune out of those players to get a tune out of us.
Yeah.
And Bielsa did it in a different way. He came and, from Stoke onwards, we fell in love with the club again, and he did it by performances. And I think it were his way of asking for a little bit of time, and his way of saying, look, we appreciate that you're paying your money. We appreciate that the performance weren't good enough, but, give us time.
Yeah.
And in all fairness to Marsch, I know I ain't had my say on it because I haven't been around, but it's one of those things where I don't think we'll see Marsch's style implemented properly until we know where we are next year. It's all about dragging herself into a comfortable position in the Premier League. But I think just what I took from that was that he knows what it means to us and what it's going to take to get us on board. And I quite like that, to be fair.
Yeah. 100%, yeah.
So moving on to Sunday then. Obviously, how are you feeling going into that game? Because I literally set off and had to put my phone into airline mode or whatever it's called just before kickoff, and I hated that flight. I hated every second of that flight, just knowing the game was going on and not having any sort of connection, not knowing. It was just awful, just with how important the game was. So how did it feel going?
I don't know really. I don't think I felt nervous at all. Like the Man United game, I felt nerves and excitement, but this was just like, I guess, like a bit of a fear of, I just hope we turn up and we get something out of it.
Because I was nervous not even going, but I was nervous because I genuinely, in my mind, anything shy of 3 points, we were down. It's as simple as that. So and anything can happen in 90 minutes. You can batter a team and still not, which nearly happened. You know what I mean? It's like you could batter a team and not. It's not like other sports where you are kind of dominant and it's always going to kind of shine through in the results. Football is a very strange game at times like that. So yeah, for me, like it had to be a win. Like nothing else was acceptable. Nothing else was acceptable. So I was certainly nervous. What about you, young Ben?
I think as you know, Raggy, I don't like to get to the stadium in good time. I very much rush. Well, I literally walked through to my seat as the players kicked the ball for kickoff. But essentially, look, I looked at the team sheet.
I think that was one of the when I looked at the team sheet, I thought, yeah, I like what he's done there.
I looked at the team sheet and I just do you know, like when you lift your phone up, you looked at it and I give like a little nod of approval and just put my phone back down. And I was like, I think from that moment, I was quietly confident. I knew they didn't have anything. Norwich don't have anything.
Yeah,
they are.
Bamford were a big plus on that.
Yeah.
Thinking, just the aura of having Bamford was sort of enough to sort of think, this is going to be maybe a bit different. And
his presence, he brought that presence. And he didn't score. He had a very good chance. He didn't score, and probably he's going to be rusted. But he has that presence, and I think when he's there, because we know what he brings to the team, he brings the work rate and he brings a leadership. He's a senior player in that squad now, but he holds up the ball, he wins the ball, and he puts defenders under pressure. And I don't think there's a centre half in this league who likes playing against Bamford because he's got that. I wouldn't say a nasty side, but the annoying side is a very frustrating centre forward. It bullies defenders in a different way. He gets in the rear, he gets on the side of them. He's a shithouse. He is.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's many centre halves who like playing against him. And I do think that, especially that centre half pairing, which didn't fill, I don't even think Norwich fans with any confidence.
No.
They're there to be got at. And I think when I saw Rodrigo on the pitch and I saw Bamford on the pitch, I thought,
well, the Rodrigo, that's what I was going to go to next. That was quite a bold move after the performance he did have against Villa.
Yeah.
To put him straight back in. And I think a few thought, that's not a good move. But like I said, he's there to prove himself. And like we said, he did that.
Yeah. But he came on leaps and bounds. And I've gone back to it again and again. But just that challenge on Williams in the first kind of like 15, 20 minutes set the tone for the afternoon. And I think, we saw a lot of fight. I know Jesse Marsch seems to like that word, but we saw a lot of fight. We saw a lot of determination. And we saw him implement his ways a little bit. It was a lot more structured, I think, a lot less hectic.
Yeah.
And I think it worked. I think it pressured him. And Norwich came with a point to prove. We were the last real chance for them to get 3 points to drag us in with them. And, I said to the lad behind me, I said, it feels like they're playing the occasion. And, they were there to win and they shit the bed, essentially. And we saw an intensity like we've not usually seen because it's more of a structured intensity.
Yeah.
It's a lot more methodical, but it worked. And we were very much in control. And that first half, we could have been 2, 3, 4.
Should have been 3 up,
Yeah. But I think that's down to the confidence that's lacking in some of the players.
Yeah.
Rafinha, we saw the miss at Leicester.
But I suppose, the goal is a bit of luck that we probably needed as well with the deflection off. And Rodrigo sort of just takes it off of James, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And then, and he gets that little look. But
I like that because, like you say, James are almost lining up for it. And he's just coming, he's just done it. And that after Villa, it'd be so easy for him to shy away from it. Like, but he just fucking put his foot through it, and we see what happened.
Yeah,
and like I said, just going back to what I was saying about Rafinha, them 2 chances in the first half. I mean, albeit the one of them came across the box, flying across the box. It's hard to it on a volley, but a confident Rafinha scores that goal for me.
Yeah,
but I just think it's encouraging that what we created. What's discouraging is we didn't finish it.
Yeah,
but we're used to that. We're used to that anyway under Bielsa. We did the same thing. So. I think that we're starting to feel a bit of a rhythm. I feel like the crowd finally, got that confidence back in. And we'll talk probably about going to the end of the game because it was a bit touchy. But I just feel like everything was kind of clicking, and it felt like we were seeing something new, and it felt like that we were never.
It felt a bit different, didn't it?
It felt like we were never going to lose. That's the weird thing. Yeah. I felt like we were never going to lose, and it did feel very, very different. It was a strange feeling, but I'm
maybe
for it.
And I guess we're going until the end, but maybe the way it did kind of sort of pan out is better in the long run. But I'll just go back on the sort of the chance. I mean, Struijk had a good chance. He had a header which was quite well saved, low down, and then kind of spooned it over after. But I think you see that I think Van Dijk did one very similar at the weekend as well. So, and yeah, like I said, Rafinha hit the bar. We should have been 3-0 up at half time.
You got the one-on-one with You got the one-on-one with Bamford. It was put in about 5 yards wide.
Yeah, that was quite funny, that, because it was sort of very reminiscent of Championship Bamford.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
And we were like, and it started really well, and then he did that, and we thought, oh, can we have Premier League Bamford, please? Especially at that point as well. I don't think we'd scored then.
No,
I can't remember.
It was 0-0.
Yeah.
Was that 0-0? I thought that was at 1-0.
I can't remember. But going into our time,
I wasn't there.
1-0 is a good result. It should be more.
Mm.
And if we can build on this, it's a walk in the park.
But
it wasn't.
No. But like I said,
going back to that Rodrigo goal, it just reminded me. I was about, I don't know, probably about 14, and I went to watch my dad play, for his work team, and there were so many, because it was like a middle-aged team, so many injuries on the day, of like bust hams, stuff like that, because they're all old men. That I ended up actually getting put on, and like, here's a shirt, get yourself on, borrow someone's boots, sort of thing. And I just was like running around up front, not knowing what to do. And a ball came into me in the area, and kind of like I must have taken about 5 seconds on the ball. And one of my dad's team's players just literally just pushed me off the ball and smashed it top corner. And that's what that Rodrigo did. Like, James kind of took a bit of a bad. So he's like, "Fuck off out of it here. Let me sort this out." And I just ran away from that on the day, going, "Yeah, well, I got an assist though, didn't I?" Came off me fast.
Yeah.
So, I like that. I like the fact he was like, "Nah, I'm having this. I'm taking over," and blasted bottom corner. Well, deflected input. It was. I kind of like that passage of play. It was nice to see, and like you say, good improvement on his performance.
Just a quick question on that
Thursday
goal.
night.
There's been a lot of talk about Bamford's positioning being potentially offside on the lead up, which is what Krull were complaining about. Do you see that as offside? That he's not actually directly touching the ball, but he's taken the centre backs out of play and being offside?
It all goes back to Jared Bowen, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Jared Bowen offside.
That's exactly what I was going to say. If you're saying that Jared Bowen's not interfering with play when he's literally making Meslier come and push that ball out, he's nearly taking Mellier's head off. If he's not interfering with play, then Bamford isn't.
I mean, if he's already offside, what are Norwich players bothered about?
Yeah, just a question putting out there.
I get where you're coming from, and I understand it.
But worried about him if he's already offside.
Yeah, but he's there's no way. He's nowhere near as interfering as the Bowen one. Nowhere near.
No.
Not even close.
It must be a good sort of 10 yards away from it.
Yeah.
I mean, where do you start choosing how close is too close and all that?
I mean, I heard that, like, well, is it Oblak or whatever, Ozblak or whatever he's called, the centre half.
Oblak's
the Atletico Madrid keeper.
Didn't he call Ozan Kabak though? I don't know.
Yes, well, yeah.
Like if he could have let it run through, but he's not going to because of. Well, take charge of the situation then, rather than just fucking like. It's only a problem because he meekly gives us the ball back. If he deals with the ball properly, it's not an issue, is it?
No.
It's only because they're shit, or he's shit, that then they've shit. Because I see where they're coming from, but Bamford doesn't actually get really very close to him, and he still kind of meekly half clears it straight to us. It's his issue, not us. But there we go.
And then Bamford went off at half time.
I don't think we were ever going to get more than a half out of him. And I'm glad that. I'm not saying I were expecting us to be chasing the game in the second half, but I'm glad that we put him on in the first half.
Yeah, rather than doing it from the second.
When we could potentially be chasing and coming back from, goal down, so to speak. But I'm just confused by the whole Bamford situation because, like, pre-Marsch, Bamford were like 2-1. No one knows how close he is to
I do think Bielsa was kind of playing it down.
Yeah,
they didn't want, and I suppose it depends when Phillips and and Cooper are back, but they have said hopefully he'll be after the international break.
Mm.
If they show up on Friday, maybe on the bench, I don't know. But yeah, I think
It was the right choice to make.
yeah, and maybe he would have played it under Bielsa. It'd have come on at the same time. But Bielsa was just like, I don't want to put all this pressure on him coming back.
Yeah,
because it makes a big difference, sort of thing.
I agree.
And they brought Jackie, son of a bitch, Harrison on.
Who is now my favourite Leeds United player. Although he wouldn't have got a red card because I thought it was gonna. But it's just a side to him that I've never seen before and I'd never expect from him.
Yeah.
And he's just a proper little bastard, and I like it. I like it a lot.
To an extent, I mean, I'd rather he was a bit of a bastard, a bit less of a bastard.
On a yellow card.
and better at putting the balls in, because I think his on the ball game wasn't that good.
No, it wasn't.
But his off the ball game was, very bastardy.
I mean, on a scale of 1 to bastard, they were a massive bastard.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying. He didn't have any direct involvement in the game.
Apart from like on Max Aarons.
Yeah, who's still crying in Norwich now somewhere. But do you know, the only thing you look at that substitution at half time is why not go like for like?
Yeah, and bring Joffrey on.
But I mean, I'm football manager, so I don't know.
And if you do that, does Joffrey, I guess, moving... Although we'll move on to that in a bit, but yeah. Does that have an effect on what Joffrey does later on if he's brought on at half-time?
It's all hindsight, Ben.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
So the second half was quite dull, really. It didn't...
Well...
I can't remember.
up until stoppage time.
Well, until the last few minutes where they were kind of just going long. And I guess one of the big changes was bringing Koch on for Rodrigo, which when you're at the game and you're thinking, that's quite sensible. That we're gonna all right, we're 1-0 up. We'll see this out and we'll be a bit more defensive. And we've not had that over the last 3 years. And there's probably a reason why, because as sensible as it is, it never fucking works.
It's one of them where for the last 3 years you've been calling for it and saying, look, I love watching this football, but please, for the love of God, put another defender on and just see this game out. And there's so many times where I haven't done it, it's bit isn't ass.
Yeah.
So now we've done it and it almost bites in the ass.
Yeah.
30 minutes to go. 30 minutes to go is a long way to do
little early, isn't it?
From a game management point of view.
Yeah.
I do believe that settling for 1-0 against Norwich on 60 minutes is premature.
Yeah.
Because by all accounts, they weren't good, Norwich.
No.
Probably
but
one of the
also,
worst teams I've seen at Ellen Road.
Considering what we had on the bench, I mean, you could always have brought Joffrey on, yes. But what else is the move there? Because I don't know what the other move was.
Joffrey, probably.
Yeah. And maybe at that point, if you wanted to go defensive, that's not the move, is it? What we needed was another centre midfielder, I'd say.
To control the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And maybe if we had the luxury of having Calvin Phillips, bringing another... if we say Forshaw on the bench or Glitch or whatever, you bring someone like that on, because you've got the luxury of having Phillips there, and it maybe works a bit better. But yeah, we were sort of in the point that we needed to go a bit more defensive, but not as defensive as to bring a centre defender on in midfield.
Yeah, not too defensive.
Yeah. Maybe so.
But it kind of worked because ultimately we've got the results. But yeah, it's are we going to talk about how it ended, or are we going to talk about the refereeing first? Because there's a number of refereeing decisions to discuss.
The referee, I thought it was pretty okay until the Koch substitution, really. And at that point, it was like, oh, they're going defensive. I need to give Norwich a hand here and try and get back in this. And it was like
what half
the referee took it on himself. He was go on.
What half did the James penalty shout come in? Is that first or second?
That was first half. I had forgot about that.
Yeah, it happened right in front of me.
Yeah, and that's the Stonewall penalty.
I mean, it literally happened in the Burnley-Brentford game.
Yeah.
Same thing. I think,
I mean, it's not like it was even shoulder to shoulder. He's literally, it's not like when you get it where a player puts himself in front of the player and like in between the player and the ball. He didn't do that. He literally just came over, launched James out of the side.
Straight into back.
Yeah.
Literally never played the ball.
And the ball was there to take because James had like 5 yards on the floor.
It was the stupidest foul to make.
Yeah.
And it were almost like the refs looked at it and said, well, surely he hadn't done that. So I'm not going to give him that.
Yeah.
I mean, James.
Yeah, surely he's not that stupid.
James is very good at getting his body in front, like between the ball. But I mean, yeah, like I don't know. It's like I've tried convincing myself it's not a penalty just to feel better about it, but it's just. I mean, look,
it was very similar to the one at Newcastle that wasn't given.
I was just about to say it's like it's not the first one.
Yeah,
and I think everyone.
Is it a Dan James thing because he's small and agile, and you think if someone barges into him, he's just going to go flying anyway? Do you think that's sort of in referees' heads that's going to happen because he's small and running fast, so he's going to fall over quickly? And
if you make that contact with, I don't know, who's our biggest player, with Bamford, if you make that contact with Pascal Struijk, he's going to go. You're going to barge him over. It's a ridiculous challenge to make. It doesn't matter who it is.
With the momentum, it's obviously going to be the case.
Yeah.
Speaking of penalties, I forgot that they had one turned down.
Yeah, I thought that were a penalty.
Yeah, I mean, Ayling goes to ground and you're thinking, why have you gone to ground there? But it does look like he was going to sort of barge into him, and he's thought, I can't barge into him here. I'm in the penalty. And he's kind of like fallen over and then just tried to sit down. And it looks really bad from watching it live, and you're thinking he's gone down, and he's sat on the floor, and you're just thinking he looks guilty as fuck.
Well, I was going to say, I can tell you who did think it was a penalty, and that was Luke Ayling, because his face says it all. Is like, oh, what have I done there? But that is what VAR is there for, in my opinion. Like, you can see why a referee gives that. Absolutely, you can see why. At that speed, and you look at it and you go, "Oh yeah, that's a penalty." I was watching the highlights on my ridiculous train journey back from Manchester Airport, which, that'll be a podcast in itself. And I was watching it with Newcastle, and we both knew that was going to get overturned. And when we watched it, we both went, "Oh, as if to say, like, that is a stone wall." But then when you watch it back on the angles, it's a great decision to overturn it, because it doesn't, like, you can slide into someone, not many contact, but put your body in that position to block a shot, to block movement. If they're going to land on you, then they can't twist the body. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. No, and he stood on.
Didn't the same play go down the first half?
Yes, he did. Yeah, and that was was that the one with Ayling where he did catch him? I thought that was a dive at first, but after seeing it back, I mean, Ayling kind of does roll over the ball.
Yeah.
I don't think the Norwich fans are too happy with it.
No.
But yeah, I don't see that. Yeah, he gets the ball, and I can see why VAR didn't give it a red card, because they did VAR that, didn't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, Ayling sat there on the floor, and he does sort of that play. I can't remember his name, and he just sort of just stand on Ayling's shin, doesn't he? And then just falls over, which is a bit cheap, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it is.
I mean, if you're going to go down, at least get your foot under his leg or something and look like he's tripped you up, but not on top. That don't work.
The whole thing stinks in terms of, okay, if it's not a penalty, then it's simulation, and if that's a penalty, we'll concede a goal. Luke Ayling probably gets the yellow card, and we're up shit creek. He's done that with absolutely no punishment whatsoever, and it's not just that instance; it happens all the time. I find it hard that no simulation is ever given. Even a yellow card.
I guess in a way, there's like different types of diving, and can you really begrudge a player in that position to try and take that chance? I mean, I'm trying to advocate diving a bit here, but in that situation, you've got the situation that Norwich are in. and they've got a chance to go through and win a penalty and score a goal to equalise, get a point, maybe go on and win. Can you just understand that at that point and think, yeah, it's stupid, just play on, don't do it again, sort of thing? Does it?
But the thing is, because they aren't penalised or punished, they will do it again.
They'll do it again and again, and that's the whole idea of booking for simulation, is to try and stop it.
Which never happens. It's like the goalkeeper rule that doesn't exist. By law, a goalkeeper can hold the ball in their hands for 6 seconds.
Yeah.
I've never once seen a keeper get rid of the ball after 6 seconds.
No.
In fact, I've seen them take it 6 seconds to fucking pick the ball up.
There was one point, I think Norwich had a chance, and Melier caught it, and he went down, and I'm just shouting, lay on the fucking floor. And he gets up and he tried to give the ball around. I was like, just lay on the floor.
Yeah. Yeah.
That might have been because that went over, didn't it? The one where he saved it with his face, but yeah,
that went over.
Getting ahead of himself.
Great save. So yeah, I mean, in terms of refereeing, it kind of got all sholic.
Yeah, the way they got towards the end of the game, we're like, how much advantage could I give Norwich? I mean, like, they were getting 10 yards on throw-ins. They were getting free kicks that they were just allowed to take as quick as they wanted.
With the ball moving.
Wherever they wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there was a goal kick that was, I think Krul just rolled it. It was still rolling. And he kicked it to the defender. And the referee sort of went to go blow his whistle, and they just thought, oh, fuck it, just play on.
I mean, I had to double take at one point to see who were reffing, if it was Stuart Atwell or if it were Tim Krul. Because it very much looked like Tim Krul were in charge of that game.
I mean, yeah, Tim Krul's running stats must have been amazing because he ran to the referee at least 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, his sprints must have been up there.
An active heat map.
Yeah. They're just following the ref around.
Yeah. And he's such a fucking detestable twat as well, isn't he, Tim Krul? I hate him.
He's so shit. Like, I literally turned round to my mate who I got to the game with first, and I went, he's worst keeper in league, isn't he? And my mate literally turned to me and went, probably not today, though. And I went, no, you are right. Yeah. He's probably going to pull off a worldie, but he is genuinely, absolutely abysmal. Like, he's so shit it hurts. But
and he just come back in for Angus Gunn. Has he been playing? Or is it Southampton now? I can't remember. I don't watch much. In Norwich.
I mean, Norwich are the most irrelevant thing on this earth.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't know.
But then they go on.
Yeah, the most irrelevant team on the earth. Then in the 90th minute, crop up and stick one in the back of the net. At that stage, what were you thinking? Oh, at least my season ticket's going to get 3 extra home games next season.
I think I just slumped in my seat. I didn't know what to think. I thought, what? I mean, we've watched Leeds United for so many years, and you're thinking it's just so Leeds United. It just felt like it was sort of coming towards the end.
Yeah.
And
were there many Norwich chances in the build-up to that, or was it just
they applied?
It was just that.
It was like one of those, them shit teams that were just trying to lump it forward. And we were trying not to sort of be as aggressive because we just wanted to ride the game out. And I guess it kind of invited the pressure on.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. They put a little bit of pressure on us, but you never... I mean, as a neutral, you'd probably look at it and think, steady win. As a Leeds fan, you'd look at it and think it could be 1-1 here.
Yeah.
So it's one of those where you just didn't know what was going to happen, and I think to every Leeds fan, the inevitable did happen, and we conceded a goal.
Yeah. I can't remember how it sort of got. I remember just like Pookie sort of playing it across, and their guy sort of tap it in. And I can't remember how it got to Pookie, but he's just a pest, isn't he? But he didn't really do much else all game apart from he runs around and then they couldn't find him or anything. Then it was just that one sort of chance that
I think. Do you know there was one footballer who sums up Norwich, and it's Josh Sargent because he is genuinely dreadful. And I do think that if they had anyone who could actually play football, they might have had a better chance. Like, he had no threat whatsoever, and like you said, Pookie probably does running for 2 players up there because he's absolutely useless. But saying that, he wasn't a nuisance. Do you know what we're talking about Bamford, where he gets in? Is an handful for centre halves. Pukki don't seem like that. He seems to be able to get on shoulder a little bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, he's not having a great season anyway, is he? So.
So yeah, we're 1-1, and you're thinking
so 1-1, and yeah, you're thinking there's no way we should be on the end of this, and it's a must-win game, and we're literally throwing 2 points away. Does Geldart come on after the goal?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, he was getting ready to come on just before it,
right?
But he comes on.
So he's coming on regardless, but the goal goes in, and then Joffrey comes in. I mean, I have watched replays of this goal from the goal that's coming up from every angle, the tunnel, the dugout cam and everything like that. The thing that makes this so much better is at the beginning of the clips, you can hear the Norwich fans still singing, "You're not singing anymore." And that makes it like it's just poetry in it at the end of the day. It's absolute poetry to then what happens when you can still hear them deriding us and relishing in our downfall. When a draw's no good for them anyway. I mean, let's face it, you're always going to celebrate a last minute equaliser. But a draw's no good for them. It's not going to.
In the game,
you take anything, don't you?
Yeah,
you take anything, but it's just so poetic that they're still singing that. And then, is it what big lump up from Mez?
Yeah,
Geldart,
the header he wins.
It's a great header. Yeah, target man Joffrey, the big man up top.
After that game, I actually had to check how tall he was.
Yeah,
it
felt like you were 8 foot at that point, didn't it?
I'm not very tall, and I'm pretty sure he's smaller than me, but he's just out jumped a 6 foot centre half.
Yeah, and it was just perfect. It fell perfect for Rafinha, didn't it?
Yeah,
and granted, maybe his touch round the keeper was a little bit too heavy.
Did you shoot yourself when that happened?
Yeah,
I did.
It was I guess I don't know if it was like the go on them clips, and you hear you just hear the crowd all at the same time. Go on, and then he goes around keeper, and you're thinking, oh, he's fucked it. But he was just so calm, and that sort of when he sort of stopped and turned to sort of play it across, that felt like forever.
Yeah, it did.
It was really weird.
Well, there's that angle from the cop that obviously shows that angle, and I can imagine how that did play out in slow motion in real time. But he doesn't even look up. He just he turns on that ball and passes it in one movement. I mean, it's instant. But yeah, I can imagine it just felt like, and you know what? It probably brings me back to, obviously, because I stand in the cop, and the big sliding doors moment of the second half of the season is the Newcastle game.
Yeah.
Right. And we attacked the cop in the first half. That Newcastle game, we pull that ball back from that position probably 5 times in that first half.
Yeah.
And nobody is on the end of it. Nobody's on the end of it. And at that moment, you've got a striker playing in a centre forward position, and he's on that point, and it's beautiful because we win that game against Newcastle, and probably what's happened over the last few weeks doesn't happen. Bielsa's still in the play and all that kind of stuff. That was a real kind of, like I say, sliding doors moment in our season. But it's nice that is that ball across, and you've got a striker in that position who just taps it in, and the place goes fucking mental.
Berserk.
Yeah, I haven't seen it like that in a long time.
Probably. I was thinking, what was better, that or the second goal against Scum?
I was going to say second goal against Scum was,
and I do think the second goal against Scum, because I don't think that's like up there with. I mean, I've been going to Ellen Road since '98 as a season ticket holder. That's up there, like the best celebrations of a goal and how loud it was. The Joffrey one is probably like maybe 5th. And you're thinking like Beckford against Bristol City and
Bristol Rovers.
A few others. Yeah, like Alien against Huddersfield. That were crazy.
Radaby against Spartak Moscow is still the loudest, in my opinion.
Yeah. And yeah, there's a few of them Champions League nights and what have you. But yeah, that was definitely up there with some of the best sort of celebration, the loudest, and the relief of it.
I think that's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a massive weight off your shoulders. That's what it felt like. I mean, I remember the full time whistle being blown, and I choked up. I had a lump in my throat, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you why. And I just looked to the sky in relief and just thought, thank God for that.
Yeah.
But it was just just that like 2 minutes in an emotion where
the relief
and it's just like you can finally breathe and it's just like and I always go back and especially in that tough run and I always say I really wish I didn't care.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I do, and like you say, you got a lump in your throat, tears in your eyes, and you just think this is why.
Yeah,
and it with that feeling like it's getting better now again.
And I've thought about it a lot after the game. We could have won that game 3-0 at half time, and that's it. You move on.
Yeah.
But doing it this way is kind of like, I think it has a lot of positives to it. That it shows the players that if they keep fighting, they will get somewhere. And if they keep together, and something that they maybe have not had in the last few months, bringing that back.
Yeah, fire in the belly.
Yeah.
Well, the juxtaposition between this game and the Villa game, where second half against Villa, those same players have given up.
Yeah.
To those same players a few days later concede to the worst team in the league in the 91st minute, a sickening equaliser, and still have it in their bellies to go up the other end and score.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like you say, it's no good for the heart rate, but winning that game, if we hadn't conceded the thing and we win 1-0, it's like, yeah, okay. But you kind of you want to do it this way. You want to concede to then go up the other end and score, because those highs as a fan are nothing without the lows, because you don't appreciate them as much. You just don't.
Exactly.
I just feel like as well, the moment that I just mentioned about how I felt after the game, seeing every single one of those players probably feeling the same way.
Yeah.
That's when you can resonate to it.
And that's kind of what you go to football for. You want the players to feel the same as you do.
Yeah, you don't want them to just be like, shrug it off, walk down tunnel. Every one of those players dropped to the knees.
Yeah.
You saw Rafinha and Rodrigo hug each other. You saw smiles. You saw Marsch run onto the pitch. You saw all the players run down to each other and celebrate together. And you just think, yeah, that meant a lot to them.
Yeah.
And in turn, that means a lot to you. And I feel like, I know we don't like talking, well, we don't like talking about this, but going back to Bielsa, that's what he brought back to us.
Yeah.
And all those players and Jesse Marsch have to remember is that this is what it's all about.
In a way, it was very much, I'd like to think, very much a Swansea moment.
Yeah.
That, in different circumstances, obviously, but I'm hoping that is the one that, I suppose we were already galvanised anyway, but the one that sort of tipped us over to say, we're going to go on and do that now. Whereas, like before, we were winning, we were comfortable, sort of after COVID and what have you. But yeah, I'm hoping that sort of brings everything to the thing that we need to concentrate on this now, get it done, and we move on and stay up, sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think there's a belief that we will.
Yeah,
I know I only small for a very small majority of Leeds fans, but I think if you ask the majority of them going to Ellen Road week in, week out, there's a hope or belief that we have enough to see us into the next season of Premier League next year.
And I think that's always been there. I've never thought we don't have enough to stay up. The worry was the sort of the mentally of if we kept going as we were, does that catch up with us and we go down? Because the players are good enough. They've shown that. Obviously, we've had the injuries and everything that's well documented about this season. But now it's just sort of get over the line, isn't it?
And that's all it's all about now, isn't it?
Yeah.
About getting over that line and being safe. and that's all that matters now.
I'll be honest. Thursday night at full time, I thought we were going down. That was
I
the
think
first
everyone
moment. Just so
everyone felt
deflated.
just so deflated. Yeah. It's almost like you come into. I think, and that's when you ask about how you feel going into Norwich. I feel like you're already after Thursday come to terms with potentially going down. So if you lose, I'm expecting it.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know, but yeah, I mean it's complete roller coaster of a week, but that's the joys of being a Leeds fan, I suppose.
Yeah, it's football. It's best, isn't it? It's what you go to football for.
Yeah.
It is. Those
Exactly.
moments, those 94th minute winners. It's what you do it. It's why you go through some of the rubbishness. It's the disappointment and that for those moments. It's what being a football fan's all about. So yeah, we've got that W. We've got the on the books or whatever they call it. We got the win. We got the 3 points. Yeah, and we move on to a road game on Friday. In the obviously last night. So yeah, does that wrap Norwich up?
Yeah.
Let's leave it on a high that we all love football.
Absolutely. So moving on to a good night for being a Leeds United fan, which was yesterday evening. We had victories against the two scum sides, with the senior side crashing out of Champions League, and another relegation threatened Leeds United side in their under 23s in Premier League 2 Division 1 against the scum. Strong lineup put out by, it's not Marsch anymore, is he? Because he's now first team coach. I don't know who he's
Andrew Taylor, is it? He's like head of loans.
Yeah.
Decent side put out, and we stuffed the scum 3-0 in front of nearly 10,000 people.
I mean, just the 10,000 people for an under 23s games. Mental, isn't it?
I think when you put it into like related to what was going on the same night, I think Blackburn played Derby, and I think they had less.
Yeah.
There. So if you put that into perspective, it's pretty massive.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's good in a way. Like the I guess that's the thing Bielsa's brought, that it's not just one team, Leeds United. Like people have been. I remember watching a lot of the 23s on YouTube and stuff like that, and it's everyone were excited just to watch the 23s because of the same thing. And I hope the club sort of keep on that with what that sort of progression in that the under 23s is going to be. It's the first team, obviously, younger players. It's going to be the same.
Yeah, and I think people have a lot of invested interest. Like people genuinely care, and I think a lot of it is that some of those players are playing first team football as well. But some of those players are genuinely very good.
And a lot of them. Everyone wants to see the next sort of young Leeds United player because that's what we've done for years. And I guess the main one that everyone wants to talk about is Archie Gray.
Yeah.
Who looks unreal.
Yeah, he's 16. Like
16.
I just look at him and think, nah, you're not 16 though, are you? But,
I think his school tweeted today that it.
His school said, yeah.
And it's just
congratulations to year 11 pupil.
Yeah, but he's 16 playing under 23s football, and
he's been involved with the first team.
Yeah,
as well.
I mean, me and Gary discussed this on a podcast a few months ago. That we compared it to his son Judd. Like Judd's 13, and that's only 3 years difference to Archie Gray. But like, I suppose it's a big difference in terms of
development.
A young lad sort of growing up and everything, but it's still only 3 years. But then you look at the 16 to the 23 sort of difference. You've got 8 years there.
Yeah, it's massive. Yeah,
and it's crazy.
It's so. I mean, I can't say I know everything about him. I have watched a couple of games he's played for England under 16s, and he just looks head and shoulders above that age group. It's actually ridiculous. Like his awareness, his stature, his physicality, like his leadership. I think he's captained England under 16s twice, and he's genuinely like an exciting player.
He's got a big name to hold up, hasn't he?
Yeah, and I think I think there's always going to be expectations when he's following those footsteps. But to score against scum from 30 yards out, not much better.
Apparently, he's got a younger brother as well who's in the under-13s. He's supposed to be just as good.
Oh, we're all greys, aren't we?
Yeah.
The future is grey.
50 Shades of Grey, at least.
I like it.
But yeah, good win.
Good win
in both games.
Yeah, happy with that. Another Leeds United.
It's good to see the Man United team whinging like they did.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed that. I think that was my favourite bit of the second half in that game.
They are very good at that. That must be taught throughout the club to be entitled.
Yeah.
But they did it against Atletico and the first team as well, and that was also quite funny.
Yeah, there was. I just like to see. There was some highlights I saw at final whistle, like Ronaldo kind of strutting off, obviously with his bottom lip out, and then on the pitch there was Bruno Fernandes being consoled by other Atletico players, and I was just like, yeah, stick it up your ass. I fucking hate him. I absolutely hate him. So yeah, that raised a smile on my face. In other Leeds United news this week, the Court of Arbitration for Sport, CAS, had heard our appeal against FIFA's sanctions against with the old John Kevin Augustin transfer. Obviously, Leipzig want us to pay what we promised we'd pay at the end of the 1920 season. Obviously, FIFA have come down on their side. We've appealed the decision, so it's gone to the Court of Arbitration. I think it was a 4-hour hearing, of which now they're going back to deliberate on, which could take potentially months. So I thought maybe we'd hear something a lot sooner than that. So yeah, it could rumble on. Leipzig seem incredibly confident that they're going to find in their favour.
But Leeds must think confident as well, though. If they're going for the appeal, they must think they must have some good grounds on this. Otherwise, you just won't bother, would you?
I think the argument they'll have, if you look at the Jack Harrison deal, that we actually extended his loan rather than buying him, because the option or the clause to buy wasn't void anymore, or wasn't valid anymore.
Yeah,
so it was void
because of the season running over. Yeah,
so I feel like that's the argument that they've got. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's all very political, and it's one of them where, like, well, if we pay that money, do we get him back? Is he going to return? Or what?
And how do you go about that now? I mean, they'd let him go to Nantes, not do very much there by the sounds of it. Could we just get him back? Would Jesse Marsch be able to do out with him?
I'm not even going to bother thinking about that.
Would Jesse Marsch have had him at Leipzig when he was at Leipzig?
No.
Was he not there when
he was at Salzburg?
Oh, he was at he was assistant manager there at one point, though, weren't he?
Yeah, very good point. Yeah,
before he went to Salzburg, didn't he leave Red Bulls to go be assistant under?
Maybe assistant to Ralf Rangnick. Yeah,
Rangnick.
So are we really going to start a conspiracy that John Kevin Augustin's coming back to Leeds?
I'd
prefer I'd rather go the conspiracy of getting Kevin Adeyemi than Augustin.
Yeah,
I think that's better.
Might as well just push Bart out and get Haaland if that's the case, I think.
Yeah, true, yeah. Well, there was a thing by Fabrizio Romano that saying that Haaland isn't interested in money and what have you. He's more interested in the project and that sort of football inside of it, which plays really well for us, I think.
Yeah, there's clutching at straws, and then there's what you've said, mate.
Yeah. Well, we can hope, can't we?
We can
I think
dream.
it'll be more down to people around Haaland and where he goes, because they're going to want his pound of flesh and bags of money.
Yeah, and we all know his agent is, so
yeah.
Less about said about that.
We know Cashola.
Yeah. Haaland can like what he wants, but yeah, with that agent, he's not going to come to a club like Leeds. No chance. Not on our budget.
No,
not on our budget. So we'll have to see on that one. Shall we do a little bit of a preview to Friday's game?
Yeah.
Obviously, we go away to Wolverhampton Wanderers. I had to remind myself. I was just trying to remember, kind of rolling up to the podcast tonight. I was like, how did we get on? I knew we'd drawn, and I knew they were absolute shithouses.
Yeah, they've beaten
at
both
Ellen Road.
times at Ellen Road, haven't they?
Yeah, they have been awful. I've got a good mate who's a Wolves fan, and I went back to WhatsApp messages between us, and there was only one, and it was just at full time, and I just texted him saying, "Your team are a disgrace." And but I had to remind myself it was the penalty, wasn't it? It was Joffrey came on late on,
Yeah.
Yes.
burst into the area a couple of times, and one of them decided to trip him up, and Rodders stepped up and stuck the penalty away in the 90th minute, I think it was. And yeah, I mean, on the day, I think we probably deserve to win the game. Never mind, take a point from it. But yeah, we don't want that.
They're a bit weird, aren't they, Wolves? That they just seem to have gone like under the radar. They just decently picked up points.
They're 7th.
Yeah,
and the goal record, I think only Liverpool and City have conceded less than them.
Yeah,
which is a pretty good record.
Don't bode well for us then.
No, 0-0. But like you say, the whole shithousing tactics. I think they're probably second to Newcastle because they were terrible. But they very much injured themselves to a draw.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah, looking at Wolves' previous games, obviously they beat Everton, helped us out massively on Sunday. That was coming off a 4-0 victory over Watford on Thursday night. But before that, they'd lost 3 on the bounce to Palace, West Ham and Arsenal. So, bit patchy. Obviously, they go through these kind of winning... They don't draw many games. There's a few draws at the beginning part of the season. Shall we do some predictions?
Yep.
Raggy's predictor.
So, obviously we've lost Mike recently, but young Ben is back. So, in the absence of Gary, and I know this would piss him off massively, I'm just going to give you all Mike's points, Ben. So, you come in second place on... so Gary's still losing. Everyone picked up a point against Norwich. Nobody thought Villa would beat us at Ellen Road, so no one got a point for that. Nobody got it bang on against Norwich. We all went for either 2-0, 3-0 or 3-1. So we all get 1 point. So that means Gary's still bringing up the lead, rear on 9. Then it's old Ben 11, young Ben 13 / Mike, and I'm out in the lead on 16. So Friday night we go to Molineux. How do we see it going? I'll start with you, young Ben, because I've just given you 13 points, so as a head start, so you can start us off.
So I would happily settle for a 0-0 draw, but I'm going to say a 1-0 win just because.
You can't start off again with a draw, can you?
Nah, I'm coming back with a bang.
Yeah.
And if we do win 1-0, I influenced it.
Yeah. We'll call it the young Ben win.
Yeah.
Other Ben, old Ben.
I'm going to go 1-1.
1-1.
And I'd happily love that. I mean, that'd be a good result.
You know what? I'm mirroring that. I thought draw as well. And I think, they don't concede many. So yeah, I'll be happy to think. I don't have that added euphoria of being there on Sunday as well. So I'm a bit more realistic, and I know how poor Norwich are. So maybe I'm not kind of as optimistic as the bouncers as some. But yeah, if someone offered me 1-1 right now, I'd bite their hands off.
I suppose it's all a bit like that you don't know what Leeds.
He's going to show up.
You got 3 games again for Marsch, yeah, but yeah. Who is going to show up and what's going to show up and what we're going to play? I mean, what about if Cooper or Phillips could maybe be back, or I guess we won't know.
Against Norwich, did we play with much more width than we did against Villa? Because that was doing my head in. How
No, I don't think
narrow
it was
we were.
a lot different.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we played out wide a lot, but it were almost like so what I noticed against Villa is they'd look out wide and be like, oh, shit, I can't do that. So they went narrow, whereas it's almost like they realised that they can actually still go out wide. Like, I know Marsch really wants to play narrow, play down the middle, and that's what he's about, but it kind of looked like they realised that they can still use the width of the pitch.
Yeah.
Because there were a lot of switch balls, weren't there? So
There was, against Villa, it was very much like the two fullbacks, Cash and Digne, were pretty much like on a different pitch. It would like that narrow.
Yeah.
It was a bit. I mean, when Harrison came on, I think he stayed wide a lot. But I guess the main thing, like he says, they want them all to sort of run towards the penalty spot, and I think sometimes against Villa, we kind of just tripped up over each other, and there were sometimes we were doing the same runs. And it did happen a little bit on Sunday as well. But yeah, you have to. I think in the Premier League, in English football, you have to exploit the wings.
Yeah,
I think that's just how you make a lot of your chances, and if you're not going to do that, I think you find it very hard.
I just think the huge transition from, before Marsch, everything was down the wing. So to go from one extreme to the other, it's going to take a lot of time.
I mean, we've gone from kind of playing nobody in the centre to everybody in the centre.
Well,
it's weird, isn't it?
You hit the nail on the head. How many times have we hit it out wide and pulled it back to the penalty spot and no one's there?
Yeah.
We put a striker on the pitch, we pull it back to the penalty spot and we score a goal.
That's the thing.
Well, but we were also playing a winger as a striker. That was one of the issues on that one as well.
Yeah,
and we all know why. We all know why, because he was the only one who could press like Bamford could press, and you had
fair play to Dan James.
Yeah,
I thought he was brilliant again on Sunday. He ran his socks off. And there's been, I think, a little bit of a stick for Dan James, and mainly on how much we've paid for him.
Well,
but I don't think that should be sort of leveled at him as such.
No,
we paid what Bielsa felt. Obviously, Dan James was a Bielsa thing. It was obvious he wanted him before, and that opportunity came. It was always going to cost more from Man United. And we just did it, and I think to have that on his shoulders, that price tag.
I think it's less about price tag and more about, like, I don't know. He's not being given. He's played, like you were talking about, square pegs and round holes, hasn't he? I mean, he is epitome of that, isn't he?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, he has always done what's been asked of him. And you can't, and fair fucks for him for that, because it can't be easy to do, to play centre forward when you are a small, tricky winger with loads of pace. There are deficiencies in his game. Absolutely. It's one of the reasons he didn't make it at Man U, to be honest. And I thought we might this season see some of those deficiencies being coached better because of the development we've seen with other players under Bielsa. And I think that we probably haven't seen that because of him playing centre forward all the time and having to get used to a new position. But long term, I still see him as a long term thing for Leeds United, and I think we haven't seen the best of him.
No, yeah, totally.
Shall we have a bit of shithouse?
Shithouse of the week.
I thought that was going to be a no then. Right. I'm looking through the list here. There's two from the game on Sunday, so I'll allow you to discuss that. Tim Krul is one of them.
I think I just
whinge bag.
Yeah, he is everything I hate in football. Just because he likes to moan, and he seems like he feels like he's entitled to something. But I just don't like the guy.
No,
and
it's been every time he's come to Elland Road.
It's just the way that
Do the article, the Leeds think the Barcelona.
Yeah, it's just the way that he's in the ref's face all the
Yeah.
time. I hate it. I genuinely hate that. And yeah, I just think for that reason, he needs to get in bin and probably hang his gloves up and fuck off.
Yeah, he goes on like he's a top 6 goalkeeper when really did he get relegated with Newcastle? He's up and down with Norwich.
Plays in Norwich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a high position to be shooting from, is it?
I mean, he's probably not a top candidate, but he really annoyed me. And to be fair, Rags, I only just added that when we were talking about him in Norwich because I realised how much he annoyed me.
Well, he's a prick, and he always has been. And I remember him conceding that goal at Carrow Road early on in the season when he probably should have kept it out. Was it Rodrigo's shot?
Yeah,
quite a weak shot. And I just remember tweeting, yeah, you should have wrote "use your hands" on your water bottle. So yeah. Someone's put on here Stuart Atwell, which is obviously Sundays. I'll add that Stuart Atwell, and I've just looked it up. Simon Hooper from Thursday night. The two refereeing performances, I thought Thursday was absolutely diabolical. Can't speak for Sunday, but yeah, the two refs that have come to Ellen Road have been awful.
Refereeing all round has just gone for cliff, hasn't it?
It's nice to know that nothing's changed since I've been gone.
Yeah,
every week there was a complaint for referees.
We did go through like a stage beginning of the season where referees were brilliant. They were doing everything right, and they were using VAR right. I thought it was really good. It was really refreshing, especially after the Euros and everything like that, where the referees were good. And then watching the Champions League last night and how Man United were, and I thought, and I was looking at Twitter, and loads of Man United fans were going on about the ref, and everyone else were like, "No, he were good. They were doing the things he should have done." Like, and it's literally turned into back to where it was, that it's the top 6. And people who whinge seem to just get everything because the referees just buckle under it.
My thing with referees is, as always, the consistency of it.
Yeah.
And do you know what?
It's gone from consistency in different games to consistency in the same plays. Like we talked about with the Villa game, where there was the foul that was exactly the same that he didn't give and then gave seconds later, the opposite way around.
And do you know what? It's everyone. I've heard a lot of people going, referees letting the game flow, and that's all well and good if he's letting the game flow for both teams.
Both teams,
the Scum game, he let that flow probably too much. I mean, I guess McTominay should have been sent off.
Yeah,
I
think there were at some point in that game, the referee definitely shit himself.
Yeah,
and remembered he's got cards in his pocket.
Yeah,
but I just think
when referees are starting to influence games, like I think he did on Sunday, that Norwich seemed to get an uplift on what the referee was doing. I genuinely think that's when referees are becoming a problem.
But my issue as well is there's all this focus on is he offside, is he not offside, all the fucking laws of the game that can be manipulated in any kind of way, but they still don't get the basics right. There's still free kicks and goal kicks that are taken when the ball is moving. There's still keepers holding onto the ball for more than 6 seconds. There's all the time wasted in the world. All the little things that could be easily eradicated. Simulation, diving.
The time wasting is a very good example. The back to the game last night in the Champions League. So pretty much the second half of the second half, all Atletico Madrid did were time waste, did as much as they can to kill a game. You get that in the Premier League and they praise it. But then when it's against an English side or a side like Manchester United, it was then hammered.
Yeah.
You know,
but it's the whole narrative around it all, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't like it.
You know what? You might not know this, but I was in Prague at the weekend. And I was on a stag do. Yeah, exactly. I know. I mentioned it once or twice. We were on a stag do and we decided, it was 14 lads. Let's go to the football. Either Sparta or Slavia were away. And then the other one were playing Sunday and we were flying back. So we ended up going to Bohemians 1905, who are also in the Czech Prem, but they're much further down. And yeah, they're a Prague side. Only 3,500 in a 6,000 stadium. It was class. We were in there doing all the English chants, all these Czech fans around us laughing their heads off, and we're like, fucking all these chants of the referee and all the away fan. There's about 40 away fans, DD coming a taxi and all that. It was absolutely brilliant. But one thing was so refreshing was there was some dodgy decisions from the ref, but never any arguing, loads of bad tackles, and just players just got up. Didn't get the decision. Players just got up and got on with it. And it was really refreshing to watch, and it's such a difference from what we used to week in, week out, where players will go down. They're not hurt, and players will go down and stay down for ages. And it was just one of them. It was quite. I was watching it going, yeah, this was what it used to be like. I mean, I don't want to be one of those guys. Oh yeah, back in my day and everything, but
yeah,
it does need to be improved upon. It really does. Because it's bollocks, isn't it?
I can't remember it was the Norwich game or the Villa game. There was one. Someone went down. I can't remember who it was. And they made a meal of it, and they went off, and then they just ran straight back on. I mean, you'd have thought they'd have broken his leg with the way he carried on. And it's just shit like that, isn't it?
It's just bollocks, mate. It just really winds me up. It really winds me up. There's no need for it.
No.
There really isn't. And it all bows into, like you say, just we kind of accept that that's just the way the modern game is, but it doesn't have to be. And this was the Czech Premier League. I know it's a lot lower down in terms of quality. It's still their Premier Division. They're still it's still in the same league that there is a Champions League side in there. So, yeah, we do need to get a bit of a grip on there. Last one in Shithouse. I think we'll have a little conversation about this. Chelsea Football Club.
Well, where do you start?
I mean, it's unreal what they've tried to do. I know they've pulled it back and said, "Oh no, we no longer want."
But that's sort of like the nearest thing that's happened. But like the whole last couple of weeks, they went from singing Abramovich. The fans went from singing Abramovich's name when he's, from what looks of it, allegedly, is part of what is happening in Ukraine. He funds that, or is part of whatever that sort of connection is.
He's been sanctioned. He's part of the sanctions that the UK government have implemented.
So just starting on that, they're then singing his name while his mate is killing innocent people in a country, and that from the start just sets the tone for Chelsea fans and Chelsea as a club. They live on a different fucking planet. And there was a very good piece on Monday Night Football. Gary Neville went into it, and Jamie Carragher, and they sort of spelled it out clearly. And I think that maybe, hopefully, it got through to a few football fans and thinking there's football rivalries and everything and stuff like that, and backing your team. But when someone's going around dropping bombs on people's heads, that's when you need to sort of start thinking your loyalties and thinking, yeah, he's not a good guy.
Yeah.
And that's what it ultimately comes down to. And singing his name, and then, but I guess it all comes from the club as well. So going on to what you were on about, Raggy, with the whole Middlesbrough thing. Could Middlesbrough play? What were they saying behind closed doors?
So basically, they can't take away fans, or they can't sell tickets to the away fans. And as an act of sporting integrity, they were requesting the game to be played behind closed doors. So therefore, Middlesbrough couldn't have any fans. It had to be behind closed doors because, I mean, let's just
2 words. The 2 words there: sporting
integrity. Absolutely. What has Abramovich's billions done to the sports integrity of English football?
Yeah,
because without that, in 2003. That was the catalyst of what we see here in Premier League finance. Without that flooding in, changing the rules overnight, changing everything and the money that flooded into the game, the sporting integrity is out the frigging window. We are now in this monopoly. Bearing in mind, this club also last year tried to break away into a Super League without relegation and no competitiveness. The word sporting integrity should never ever come out their mouth. It's ridiculous.
You can go back to 2003 or whenever it was, and what Chelsea did, and this is the point I think Jamie Carragher made, that they went to Arsenal and got the best English left back in Ashley Cole. They went to or a few others you mentioned. They went all over the world and bought all these amazing players and took players like Damien Duff from Blackburn. Blackburn couldn't turn that money down, and they did it from a lot of the younger English players, didn't they? They went and took them, so them clubs could not get any better. And you like Steve Sidwell, Scott Parker. Scott Parker played a lot for him and stuff like that. But all these sort of players that was doing well at lower league clubs, or not lower league clubs, but lower down clubs, they took all these players off them just because they could. They weren't interested in playing them. They take all these young players off clubs and give them a load of money. And you look at the likes of Lewis Baker and Izzy Brown. They've been on 30 grand a week. And they've hardly played any games in the Championship, but never mind the Premier League. And there's other Championship players that are struggling to get contracts for 6 grand a week and stuff like that. And they're playing more than these players.
Like you say, they didn't just do it at first team level, did they? They did it at lower, at young level. Did they? What were the two lads who they took off us? Michael, that was part of that court case. Michael
Woods and Taiwo, were it?
And Taiwo, and everything like that, because they just wanted to create this farm system, which was, like you say, there was no pathway into the first team. Because the first, they chopped and changed the managers, and they'd end up with a manager like Mourinho who liked old players and didn't blood any youth. So there was no pathway into the first team. But all they did is create these huge farm systems where they just robbed all the great academy prospects of all these other clubs and kept it for themselves.
I think as well, if you look, you talk about the influence that he had back in 2003 and how that's changed everything. Look at the rules regarding loans that are coming in over the next couple of years. What they do is directly related to that.
The players that they loan out, they could probably win the Championship every year.
Well, yeah, probably. I mean, there's players who and it's not just one or two. There's like Victor Moses, for example.
Yeah.
You're like, oh shit, still signed at Chelsea. It's like you don't even realize, and it's just showing that's the power they have. They can buy what they want.
The best example would be Conor Gallagher.
Yeah.
So it was on loan at West Brom last year. Obviously, they went down, so won't really afford him. He's on loan at Palace this year. He's been probably their best player. What now? So if Palace wants to go buy him, Chelsea can just say, I want 25 million, because that's probably about standard for where he's at. But the teams have 25 million to spend on a player like that, after the last 2 years. But then Chelsea well, that's it, either that or we'll just loan him out again.
Yeah, exactly.
And
it's mad. It's mad. And then you talk about.
Well, you talk about just to go off, maybe not on a tangent, but the fact that the Chelsea fans are still singing his name, still shows that sports washing works.
Yeah,
it's a thing.
Oh yeah,
and
100%.
It's very much there. And we've seen journalists come out and ask tough questions to managers, and let's be honest, the managers don't have answers to those questions that are being asked.
Yeah.
But it's important that it's relevant, because all the football fans think is, well, they're coming into my club, they're giving us loads of money, we're going to be successful, we're getting the results. Just ask where that money's coming from, and it's a very, very dark picture. And that's all I'll say on it.
100%.
100%, yeah. And with that, the fans become brainwashed to the money and the winning everything. I mean, you look at Newcastle now, and all right, they've maybe had a shit time under Mike Ashley, but you get the feeling that they weren't interested in what anyone did, as long as they bring a load of money to Newcastle and they go about and buy all these players. They're not really interested in that, because their team is getting sort of all the money. And maybe from a position where, as a Leeds fan, if someone came with loads of money, you would think that, but I don't know if it's right.
But look, we can't relate directly, but Radrizani took over. We went to Myanmar, and it kicked up a bit of a stink.
Yeah.
There were people who were very vocal and not happy about that. And, it's stuff like that. Whereas there is other fan bases who will settle. Newcastle is the example, All right, they've got all this money. They've brought in Eddie Howe, who's a decent enough manager, which shows.
Yeah.
But they've bought players directly to weaken rivals for a short-term project because they can. Dan Burn and Chris Wood, they are foundations for a successful 5-10 years.
No.
They're foundations for getting out of shit this year, and they'll probably replace next year because they can, because they're in a position to pay for that.
Yeah, and they'll be just sat in a squad on
Whatever.
70 grand a week,
Not
not
complaining.
playing. Yeah.
And not complaining, because why would you?
Yeah.
But like you say, it's an absolute example of how sports washing does work.
Yeah. And just on the Chelsea, but they've been complaining about they have to get a coach.
Yeah.
They have to get because they cannot fly to Middlesbrough. Which is why would you even say that and put that out? It shows how unattached they are to sort of real world football. When you've got teams like Exeter, Carlisle, Hartlepool, you'll have to do them journeys week in, week out.
Yeah.
I mean, if Hartlepool go to London, which is pretty much the same, they'll have to do that every other week or at least once a month, probably in them leagues. Going to places like Crawley and Gillingham.
100%.
And they sit on a coach and they don't have fancy facilities to go back after and with their own sort of private bedrooms and stuff like that, which they have in the Premier League. I think like Spurs has its own little, I suppose we have it as well, don't we? Have little things, but Spurs has like proper hotel rooms in their thing that they could, if they get back late, they can go stay there and do what they want the next day and stuff like that. And it's just, I hope it's like an eye-opening thing for these teams that this is what it's like in the Football League and the teams that don't have this money. And you're complaining that you can't get a jet.
But it's not even that. It's probably teams in the lower half of the Premier League who don't have the same facilities. You know,
I think the Premier League is different. The amount of money in the Premier League is.
But would a Crystal Palace, would a Wolves, would a Leeds, would any team like that really make complaints like that though?
Probably not, because you'd like to think they're more grounded.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
but even you can go to the
They're
Championship.
just entitled, aren't they? They're just entitled.
Yeah, I mean, the teams like Luton fly to wherever they're playing. They fly to Sunderland or wherever.
No, probably walk.
Yeah.
That's the training session.
If it gets to the point where when we play Chelsea, now it's been moved to 12 o'clock on a Sunday, has it?
Yeah.
If they want,
Probably, yeah.
If they want to walk,
plans that weekend,
they will have to set off on a Thursday night if they're walking, which will be quite interesting.
Yeah,
it's a long walk.
So who are we giving it to then?
Chelsea.
Refs, Kroll or Chelsea?
Yeah, I think so. Chelsea after that discussion.
Chelsea all day long.
It has to be. It has to be. So, any other business, gents, or are we at the end of the what we have to talk about tonight?
I think I can't think of anything else.
No, I think I'm just happy to be back.
Yeah, happy to have you back.
It's been great.
A pleasure.
It's been good. Absolutely. Sorry we couldn't bring Gary to give you a proper welcome, but I'm sure
there's lives that need saving.
Gary did Gary rang me up and told me the dream. We were going to be here with open arms and welcome me back, and he let me down. But
yeah.
There's always next week.
Absolutely. Okay then, lads. Well, thank you for joining us on our very special 200th episode. I will. There's only one thing to say, and that's I'll see thee.
See thee.
See thee.